Winner of the 2017 Olivier Award for Best Musical and based on the iconic film Groundhog Day, this is the new Broadway hit that Entertainment Weekly calls a wonderfully inventive show with dazzling energy, creativity, wit, and heart. And New York One says, this is a Groundhog Day to celebrate with Danny Rubin's wryly humorous book, Matthew Warchus' inventive direction, and Tim Minchin's clever songs. The forecast for this Groundhog Day looks pretty bright. Let's roll you a little commercial, get you in the mood.
There's a new Best Musical on Broadway that you'll want to see again and again and again. The New York Times says, I loved it. It's a miracle on Broadway. Groundhog Day.
Well, that was fun. Everybody enjoy the commercial? That was a short commercial. Got anything longer? I mean, hi, everybody. I'm glad you're all here. We're going to sing some songs for you. This first song from the show is called, well, it's not the first song in the show. It actually happens on day 3 after Phil has repeated the day the 3rd time, completely freaked out, looks for help, can't get any. So what's the next idea? Let's get drunk and deal with this by putting all of it in a bottle. So he goes to this bar. I play Phil Connors. I'm Andy Karl.
I'm Raymond J. Lee. I play Ralph.
I'm Jordan Grubb. I play Gus.
They're the barflies.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're the local yokels.
Yeah, so we're drunk, and he comes and hangs out with us. It's a fun scene.
I wake up hungover. I go to bed smashed like an alcoholic hamster on one of them little wheelie things. Every evening the same, every morning the pain. I start drinking at 10, hell, by noon I'm not feeling things. And nobody cares what I'm talking about.
Oh shit, I just got thrown up in my mouth.
Just swallow it, man.
Trying.
Just swallow it. Your opinions or your vomit, either way they don't want it. And I think I had a point there, but the point is it don't matter, cause it's pointless having points anyway. Nobody cares what I say. Nobody cares what I do. And what's the point in bothering if no one else is bothered? I was born in this town, and I'm gonna die here too. I wake with a headache, I take a piss, I often miss, I often get a little bit on the floor. I eat a piece of toast that I found toasted in the toaster. Then I goes to get my jacket by the rack by the back door. And then I get into my truck and drive a block to Ralphie's shop. It's always shut. I pick him up and drive us up to Running Rock. And shoot some cans and crack some cans and shoot the breeze about the weather or a sports team or a car. And after that, the bar. Nobody cares what I say. Nobody cares what I do. Yeah, what's the point in bothering if no one else is bothered? I was born in this town, and I'm gonna die here too.
Wait a minute. There's no tomorrow. We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want.
I'm driving.
Woo-hoo!
I wake with a headache, I take a piss, I up and miss, I up and get a little bit on the floor. I sometimes try to clean the mess I make from my mistakes, but for whose sake am I making all this effort for? I wake up each morning in the same damn day. There seems to be jack shit that I can do or say. I got no voice, I got no vote, I got no way. Change a goddamn thing.
I think that's the pigs.
Who gives a fig?
Nobody cares what I do. Nobody cares if I'm alive. Utterly uninfluential, no regrets and no potential. Every turn inconsequential.
Let's drive!
No.
content.
Well, actually, I've got dental.
Really? Well, that's nice.
And I'm not sure what the point is, but the point is it don't matter.
Oh, I see him.
Mister.
I think he's gonna swerve first.
Nobody cares what I do.
Nobody cares if I'm alive. Utterly uninfluential, no regrets and no potential. Every turn inconsequential. Utterly repercussion free.
They're arguably enough for that tree.
I think I pooped my dungaree.
No consequence at all. Nobody cares.
Okay, I think I'm up next. My name's Rebecca Faulkenberry. I play Nancy Taylor in the show. And in one of the incarnations of Phil's Groundhog Day, I am a one-night stand for him after he learns that I'm Nancy Taylor, Lincoln High, Mrs. Walsh's class, for any fans of the film. And so that's how you kind of meet me in Act 1. And then, surprise, in Act 2, I get to open it with this song, which kind of gives you a bit more insight into who Nancy Taylor is. So this song, I play Nancy in the show, and put on your thinking caps for this. It's called Playing Nancy. Well, here I am again, the pretty but naive one, the perky-breasted, giggly one-night stand. Is it my destiny to be a brief diversion, just a detour on the journey of some man? I'm not really one for asking. I'll play whatever role I'm casting. We'll smile with perfect teeth and grimace underneath. I learned back in my teens, there's no point in protesting. If you look good in tight jeans, that's what they'll want you dressed in. Once you're known for low-cut tops, it's pretty hard to stop. It isn't easy to break free of playing Nancy. I don't really remember. I guess I chose to be here. I wasn't quite aware that I was put here to be stared at. But this world I chose to live in is mostly run by men. So you take what you are given just to feel the love again. So throughout the endless week and all through the weekend, you will find me here playing Nancy. And look, I know this person fits me. I'm pretty good at being pretty, and I'm grateful, I mean to say, there are worse roles you could play, and I'd rather be up dancing than sat against the wall. It's better to be leered at than not desired at all. Am I to dream of better? To dream that one day I will be something more than just collateral in someone else's battle. I will be something more than Nancy.
Very nice.
Thank you. So we're up next. I'm Barrett Doss. I play Rita Hansen in the show. So she is Phil's associate producer, played by Andie Macdowell in the movie. And so after sometime in the second act, Phil has kind of reached the end of his rope and reveals finally to Rita what he's been going through, and whether or not she believes him, you know, I guess we don't know yet. But she offers her sort of her interpretation of what she would do if she were in the position that he's been put in. Anything else, Andie?
That sounded great to me.
Oh, thanks. Sometimes it's like I'm stumbling forward, hustled forward, jostled from behind by time. And sometimes it's like I'm being dragged, yet always lagging, trying to keep in time with time. But if I could stop the clock for just one day, if I could freeze a moment for a moment, rest before the measure's over, hold the beat for just one day, if I could wind it back and start afresh, just a day to catch my breath, to make mistakes and set them right, delay the coming of the night. If I had my time again, I would do it all the same, they say, but that's insane. Wouldn't you want to make a couple of changes? Regrets, I'd not even have a few if I could do this thing that you say you can do. I always dreamt of learning how to dance.
Some days I go out without pants.
It's so exciting.
I slept with 90% of women
every morning.
In Punxsutawney.
To have the time to strive for
between
more.
18 and 84, and one dude when I was bored.
If I had my time again, I'd take the path less trodden, avoid the crap I trod in, read a lot of books.
I've stolen 18 million
and
bucks.
I would worry less about
and I guess I'll do it again.
I've said I would be a lot more zen, and I would punch a lot of men if I had my time again. If I had my time again, I would do it all the same, they claim, but that's ridiculous. Surely you'd want to make a couple of fixes. All those boxes left unchecked, all the dreams you left neglected, you go back and put it right. I always fancied learning how to climb.
I once masturbated 7 times.
I'd study math
in the bath
and search for meaning
in one evening.
And I'd run uphill.
It wasn't fun, but still.
And learn to paint.
A man my age. It's nice to know I can. It's nice to know I can.
If I had my time again, I'd sample all the samples, look at things from different angles. I would not do it all the same if I had my time again.
And now an interlude of music. There's a tilt-a-whirl on stage. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
5 revolves. It's getting your money's worth.
High tech, just like Google. If I had my time again, the things I'd handle better, I would send my unsent letters.
I have started 700 fights, and if you knew the endless nights that I have wasted getting wasted, contemplating different ways to suicide.
I would write and I would write.
And I've tried every food and every drink and every choice and every cheat 1,000 times. And I daily eat about a dozen donuts and I don't know why. And I don't know.
I would learn piano.
Why?
And I would make a lot of friends if I had my time.
If I had my time again, and I open all the doors I'd never looked behind before.
The things I taste, the things I try.
I was completely So our last song. Don't go.
Wait,
Come on.
Seniors.
One more song.
Q&A.
We're talking.
Oh, we're doing Q&A and then we do a song?
We don't
guys.
have a song. We might
right, everybody
have
bring
a
your-
song.
He's never sung that song before.
I was going to go a cappella.
wasn't
with it.
ready.
Bring your chairs up to the red lines here, folks. Spike marks. So we got visuals. Spike marks. You've heard of those before, yeah? All right.
Our
bring them
floor,
in.
our stage is covered in them at the theater. It's
What?
like
How do you keep them all
confetti.
straight? You said 5 revolves. So for those of you who don't know, revolves are like the turntables, the spinny things on the stage. And I thought I was impressed with Hamilton the first time I saw 2 on stage, and I was like, oh, great, Hamilton, yeah. And then
What is Hamilton?
This little thing. That,
Never heard of it.
Yeah, Hamilton Day. But you guys have 5, so there's an outer and then a semi-outer, and then inside and then there's 3 in the middle that are like doing their things. There's so much I want to talk about this, and part of which is the set design itself, which I want to also bring in the guy who wrote the original screenplay from the movie and the book for this show, Danny Rubin, which should appear, boom, on screen right now.
We've been watching him right here watch us the entire time. He's been singing every song along.
He's
been
here
the
whole
weirdest
time?
thing.
He's been down there drinking water and doing all
I
sorts
just love hanging with you guys.
just like old times.
It's like literal dance interpretation for all the lyrics. That's always fun to do. So, Danny, can you speak real quick to what the process was? How did this ever get from your mind onto the page in the first place in '93 with the late great Harold Ramis you co-wrote, and then now to on the Broadway stage? How did this whole process start?
Well, I was looking for an idea for a movie. I was a screenwriter and I needed to write a movie. My agent said, you need to write another one. I said, okay. And I was just brainstorming ideas, and that's how I came up with that one. And I wrote the script and I just sent it out into the ether, and Harold Ramis found it. That's how we wound up working together on the film.
Wow, and then...
You said quickly. I could tell it took much longer.
No, that is great. And then, so fast forward over almost 25 years later. First off, is anybody not familiar with the story? Everybody here knows. Good. All right. Phew. All right. For anybody watching online, pause right now. Go watch the movie. Come back. Listen to the soundtrack. All right. How did it get to the stage? How did you make a musical out of this?
For years and years, really very soon after the movie came out, I was thinking, boy, this would make a great musical, and I'd like to do that. And so I spent many years taking notes, meeting with people, having ideas. I wasn't in any hurry. I was just starting to collect things. It finally reached critical mass after about 15 years. And all through that time, I was getting phone calls from people in the theater world saying, hey, I just had this great idea. Wouldn't Groundhog Day make a great musical? And I said, yeah, let's talk about it. And after years of doing that and having, never really hitting the right people at the right moment, Matthew Warchus called me up and said, hey, do you think Groundhog Day would make a good musical? I said, absolutely, great idea. And then he introduced me to Tim Minchin, and we were off and running.
So how did Tim get attached?
Because he and Matthew were attached at the hip, and when you get one, you get the other.
Fair enough. And then for all of you on stage now, it was originally workshopped, of course, or not even workshopped, I wouldn't call it that. It went up like full production in London. Were any of you involved in that production out there?
Me. I went in as the American, came out the American.
You didn't change nationalities while you
No. Though London is lovely, and they really embraced the musical there. It was very well received there, so that was fun, and it was a fantastic experience. We spent most of the time. I was there for 5 months, and most of that time was actually figuring out how those 5 revolves work, because what Matthew Warchus is sort of a mathematician who can also give you emotion. So it's 2 things at once that are happening, and the floor moves within an inch of its life, and it's very important. It actually it affects our story. The way that it revolves is kind of like a clock. So every day rewinds.
Symbolism.
Every day moves forward, and when the end of the show it changes, but every revolves alone of itself. So it tells stories, and it makes it very cinematic, and it's a beautiful show to watch. But that took a lot of time to figure out, and also just making sure that the scenes worked out the way they did. I think they discovered a lot of things there, and then we came here, and with this incredible cast, refined it even more to really sort of eliminate the things you don't need with a show, which is what you find out as you're doing a show. It's like, you know what, we don't need it. We're telling that with movement or whatever. But the show moves fast, but it also tells an incredible journey within those 2.5 hours.
And then for the rest of you, how did all of you get attached to the New York production?
Auditioned. I mean, I had auditioned prior to it moving to London, but I had to put that, sadly, even I couldn't continue with my audition process because I got a different job, which was very fun, but but I just crossed my fingers and hoped that it would come back around, and it ultimately did, and I went back and auditioned again. Yeah, right? It all comes full circle. Symbolism. I auditioned again, and this time it actually all worked out, which was really great. Andie forgot to say he also left London and then came back here and won an Olivier Award afterwards for this role, which was amazing, along with the show. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, same with auditions. They did have a round of auditions in April, May of last year before they did the production in London, and had some offers, but that's always loose in this business as far as like it's an offer, but is the show actually going to come in, and are they going to change the part so that in 4 or 5 months time it's not what you auditioned for, so you don't actually have that offer anymore. So I got my quote unquote offer in May and then waited until I think it was probably October, November to get an official offer. But for those months I was like, okay, it did really well in London, so that has good potential for it. Okay, it's changed producers. Oh, but they still have the money, so okay, it's happening. Okay, do they have a theater? Yeah, okay, they have a theater. Okay, I haven't got an official offer though. They're doing re-auditions, but they didn't audition my part. Okay, so, and you kind of go through all these actor things, but so yeah.
I feel like I was one of the last people to join the company because I had friends auditioning all summer and like in May and stuff like that, and I was out of town and I couldn't get in, and I thought, oh man, I would love to be a part of this show. I mean, I loved the movie growing up, and I had heard it was amazing over in London. So then I had resigned myself like I wasn't going to have any work in the winter, because usually all that stuff auditions in the late summer and the fall. And then November rolled around and like a thing for my track opened up, and I was lucky, and like by January was starting rehearsals. But that just shows you how quickly things can change in our business. So. And
I gotta say, I mean, we had, he's one of our swings, which is a task in itself, because as I said, this is a very complicated show. Everything is timed out. The characters are very specific. I think you had to cover 3 roles in the same show the other day, where he was like the sheriff, but also Buster combined, and then throwing like shirts on me and doing all these things that only like 5 humans usually do. And to this show, it's such a credit to have you here with the show, just watching what you did the other day, and also appearing here today in place of some of our other cast. So it's fantastic. We need you. Thank you for auditioning and being here.
Thank you. I definitely have gotten like 500 more gray hairs a week from it, but I'm happily going gray.
It's happened too, where like he's in costume for one character, and you're like, la la la, it's gonna start half-hour places. Actually, something happened. You got to get into this costume now. We're gonna hold the show for 5 minutes. He's in a whole nother costume, switching gears and doing his other track. And this show is tricky because you're always constantly moving. Because the floor moves, your spike marks move. So you're just like hunting for stuff on the floor, and it's incredible what our wonderful swings do.
Then Ray, how did you get it?
I was the same with Becca. I auditioned at the same time as her. They actually were like, okay, you can go for Ralph or Gus. Which part do you want to go in for? I said, I need a job, so I'm going to try to go for the tenor part, because everyone's going to go for the lower track. Went in, squeezed my balls, sang those high notes in the room. And then I found out I got like a soft offer.
Yeah. Soft offer.
Soft offer.
A softer. You got a softer.
Softer. Yeah. And like with Becca, I was doing another gig, so I was out of town, but constantly was on Twitter, on message boards, like, people like the show.
Is it good?
People like the show. Okay, great. You know, trying to find out like clips online.
Yeah.
And then I got the official offer in November, and here I am.
So I want to go back to the costumes for a second too, because Ray, you are not only this redneck character of Ralph, but you are Phil, Phil the Groundhog. This giant. That suit came from London.
Yes,
it was made in London. Yeah. What is that like wearing that groundhog in and out with the costume changes too? Because it's hot and cumbersome.
It is hot. You can't really see, but oh my gosh, I got my show body back. I'm looking good this summer.
Sweating it out.
Sweating it out. Do not burp in that costume because it's disgusting. You'll hotbox yourself.
How many costume changes do you have in the show, Ray?
I have the second most. I have 25 costume changes.
Whoa.
And Travis, who plays Jeff in our cast, has 29. He has the most.
Because you're reliving the same moments in the show over and over again. Danny, are you allowed to tell us how many times the day repeats in the show? There's like conspiracy theories about how many it is. There's no definite answer that I could find.
I had to sign something where I'm not allowed to disclose. The truth is, in my mind, it doesn't really matter. It was just an awful lot of days. And I wouldn't want to end the internet parlor game of trying to count how many it would be.
So more than 10, less than 100. We'll just leave it about right there.
More than 100.
More than 100, you think so? Wow.
I think people go into like, how long does it take to learn French? How long does it take to learn piano? How long? And people go, that's, I think, where all the conspiracies come up with their
because there's like
numbers.
montages within montages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so showing the time has passed, yes. That is, it's incredible. And so all of you are not only doing, 100+ days in the same show, you're also doing the same show 8 times a week. Do you ever get tired?
Tired right now. What the hell am I doing here? It's 1:30 in the afternoon. I should be sleeping.
I mean, how do you deal with fatigue like that? And how do you keep it fresh, I guess, within the same show, literally, when you're doing the same scene over and over?
Everybody in the show moves constantly. It's really an ensemble show. I'm out there talking and, carrying some of the stories along with some of the text and stuff, but everybody's telling the same story because we're repeating and all that kind of stuff, so we're all exhausted. But it's such a great journey. Every single night, people are on their feet cheering this show on because not only is it hilarious, it also goes very dark, it goes very deep, it goes into the heart, and when you touch people there, then it becomes affected in a way that you can't really describe to somebody other than just standing up and saying, yes, that's the emotion. But I think that's what gets us through, and also I think, we love what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we enjoy working together. I think that's something that's really come out of all of the really, really hard work that our incredible ensemble has done and Andie's done. And it's really a group of people that has learned to love each other through some really difficult challenges. We've come up against some stuff with this show, and it's really been an amazing journey so far. But just as far as our show goes, it's also an interesting, for everyone other than Andie, who gets to move sort of chronologically through this repeated day, his journey sort of goes A to Z, and the rest of us, I think, the way I look at it anyway for my character is I get to sort of, my journey goes A, B, A, B, C, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, and so I get to sort of reveal more about my character to the audience through the show, but in a different way. So you get to watch 2 different ways of following the same, or many different ways of tracking the same story.
And for the ensemble too, like each day starts off very similarly, but there's also these little differences with choreography and harmonies and rhythms. And so they'll be like, the second repeated day, I'll be on stage and be like, Becca, what day is it?
I did that to you yesterday. I said, where am I? What day was it? Day two.
Okay. Go now. Yeah.
Well, that's the show is exhausting. Yeah. Like I find in a show, or the ones that I've done before, a lot of the time it's really tiring at first because it's very new to you, and then your body kind of gets used to it and your brain gets used to it, so your energy kind of comes back during the day and other things. I'm still so tired on this one. It's an exhausting one. And then also just not wanting to embarrass yourself on stage makes you just not be tired. Because if you're tired and you lose it for a second, you will end up in the wrong place and you'll get hit by a person and then a set piece and you'll be on stage going, which I've done like twice. So,
well, and what I was going to say is like, swinging the show, I cover 11 guys. So, and I've been on for, well, after next week, I'm going on for you. That'll be my 8th. So I have to say, this is the kind of show that you can't just go on for someone and think, oh, well, this is my easy track. Like, every single person is in scene work. Every single person is an intricate, fully fleshed out character in that town, which is why I think the show is so special, because there's no one on stage just like dancing and doing wings in the background. It's like it's a vibrant community of all these different characters, and that's the cool thing, which we hope you come see it if you haven't seen it. You'll see every single person is so specific and individualized. So that keeps me on my toes because I'm like someone different every night. But yeah.
And some of our more fervent fans will notice if you miss something. It's like, oh God, yeah, they caught me. I know. Yeah.
Andie and Barrett, yeah, obviously both of you have some pretty big shoes to fill in terms of the maybe preconceived notions that people have when they come see the show, with Bill Murray and Andie Macdowell. When you two were filling this role, when you're creating your own character of the stage, did anything that what already existed in the movie influence you at all, or did you either of you start totally fresh?
That movie is hilarious. You're welcome, Danny. But it's also just, it's like, I've seen it a million times, and I'm sure many of you here have as well. I think and when I first heard they were doing a musical of it, I was like, oh, come on, man, you're not going to be able to top that. Then I heard the people that were creating it, including Danny, who's the original screenwriter, and then Tim Minchin and Matthew Warchus, who did Matilda. So that's a really sort of interesting couple of guys who are they're all gonna be thinking. They're all thinking either outside, inside the box, around the box, making a box, thinking that it's gonna be. And so that attracted me immediately. I was like, okay, so I'll look at this script, and if it's just going to be the movie, I can't really. I'll just be like, fine, but it's not going to be my role. There's going to be a million people who are going to be better than me at doing that. But it's its own beast, and that's what's really great for us is that it's the journey of Phil Connors is epic. One of the more epic roles written in musical theater, I find, and that's so attractive because you get to relay so much of yourself within a show, and there's so much to pull from and use on stage. And I just love what they've done with Rita as well. They've expanded her presence.
Yeah, I think they did a wonderful, wonderful job with the female roles in this show. We get to have a voice in a way that I think in the movie you don't get the benefit of what's happening in Rita's head while she's watching him go through whatever he's going through. She's not privy to it. So getting a sort of an inside picture, I have a very long extended song and scene sequence with Andie called One Day, where you really get to an inside shot of what's going on with her emotionally, and it provides a really great base to work from for the rest of the show. And Andie Macdowell is wonderful, but I really love I don't think of my character Rita as the same as her character Rita at all. And she came to see the show, and I don't think she felt that way either. I think we were able to sort of separate ourselves because it became a different character in some ways when Tim and Danny expanded her inner life.
I haven't seen Bill at the show.
Ask, yeah,
if he's Googling right now, please come see. Come on, man.
I sort of hope he's like snuck in and just like he's going to end up on stage one day accidentally,
like wearing
costume. Wearing the Groundhog suit or something. He just like walks in.
It's going to be fantastic. But that's but also I think he and the writers of the original movie brought the funny, and the funny is still in the show. I find it goes even funnier because what you're watching on stage, how are they going to make the day repeat without it being corny? Or it's all about it's slick and it's funny, and it's intros to new days, which is interesting. The audience is ahead and knows what's happening. The day is going to repeat, but they're never ahead of the how we're going to do it, which I find beautiful. Like, I don't know how you guys wrote that and made that happen, but it's knocking down like really funny first act. Second act goes a little dark because he's living that day over and over again. Where do you go from there? They've explored that territory of how someone deals with reliving this same day over and over again, because it can be fun for a little while, and then it gets to be a drag. And then what do? And then how's he going to snap out of it? And luckily, you know, Rita is there to give him another way to look at things.
Talking about that a second, I wanted to ask all of you what you all thought the actual interpretation of the show, like what it all represents. I was reading online, there were so many, again, theories, and hopefully Danny will, if he's allowed to, depending on what he's signed, could tell us what it actually means. I mean, is it purgatory? Are you Jesus? Is something happening with
Jesus?
Yeah, just Jesus. Yeah, like what's going on? Anybody, tell me what you think.
I want to hear that guy.
Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Groundhog is Jesus. Yeah, I think that the story speaks for itself, and in a way, I don't have to explain any of the themes because everybody comes to the show with themselves, and it connects in some way. Everybody has a different interpretation, and every single one seems stronger than the last. I have no reason to define it differently. It's a very big, it's just the story of this person going through this epic life all in one day. And I think we all relate to it within our own language. So whether it's from a philosophical point of view or a religious point of view or just a humanistic view, it is something that we all share.
Well said. All right, that was as vague an answer as I expected. Yes. I'm sure that wasn't the first time you've been asked. We have a mic in the middle of the room here. If anybody has questions for Danny or the cast here on stage, please line up and ask those questions, or get ready to ask questions. You gonna say something?
Or a song.
Or a song if you want to sing. Yeah. Give your track to the techs in the back, and yeah. I want to talk quickly, something Barrett, you said a second ago about that women have a voice in this more so in the movie, and that touches on, I talked to a friend before I saw the show, and she saw it, she was like, I don't know if I really like it because it was so sexist. And then I talked to her again after I saw it, and she said, you know, the more I thought about it, the more like Phil, he just redeems himself. You go from one extreme to the other, and then on top of all of that, there's this new character of Nancy that didn't exist in the movie. Like, I guess, Danny, what was the point of why did you put Nancy into this version?
Well, Nancy was in the movie, of course. We just expanded her, giving her a voice, a point of view. Mm-hmm. I think we were trying to get the audience to go on Phil's journey, and we think we've taken the measure of how Phil is going to progress and how the show is going to progress, and right at the beginning of Act 2 we do a full stop and say, oh, you know what, you were just like Phil, you were assuming you understood everything about this character, and you knew what she was about, and we're going to show you that you can look at her as a real person now, not just as a prop in Phil's story. And we get that from her, and you hear the whole audience sort of feeling this kind of collective guilt, like, yeah, I kind of ignored her, I forgot she was a person too. And it has a big emotional impact in driving you into the second act. That's what that was about.
There's this wonderful just going with that, with the audience kind of feeling this guilt of like, oh, why is she singing and we don't need her? And then you hear the point of the song of saying, you didn't look at me as anything more than this. And they go, oh, well, that's what I was thinking. That's the whole point of why the song is there. But there's this beautiful like douche trap, I like to call it, in the first like 2 lines of the songs, when occasionally on a rowdy audience, because like, well, here I am again, the pretty but naive one, the perky-breasted, giggly one-night stand.
Yeah.
I guess the word breast is very exciting for people, and so sometimes a dude or something will be like, yeah, or woohoo. I'm like, cool. Just wait a second. You're gonna feel really bad about that.
And so it's the song is called Playing Nancy. You were singing it as Nancy, but Rebecca is singing. Who is mouthing these words? Where are these words coming from?
That when you were asking about how many days are in the show, and Danny was saying it's really open to interpretation. I think this show is so open to interpretation. I think that's what's so great about theater and art in general, is that Like you'll read a book or you'll read something, you go, this is what it was about, and the metaphors, and someone else will get something completely different. And I had someone at stage door the other day, he's like, see what you were doing there. I got it. I was like, did you? What was I doing? He's like, because, you know, you're Nancy singing it, but it's really Rebecca. You're singing it. And oddly enough, in my performance of it, I have never done it as myself, because just as an actor, that would feel very bizarre for me I mean, it's bizarre enough to break the fourth wall and talk directly to the audience in a show, but I can do that as Nancy. If I turned around as Nancy and then was like, hey guys, what's up? It's like Rebecca Faulkenberry here. I'm going to tell you my story, which is not my own. I mean, I can certainly very much relate to the song in a lot of ways, but it's not my own words. It's not my own story, so I can't do it as myself. I have to still do it as the character, even though I totally see that interpretation of being able to do it as the actor and how it could relate to an actor. But I've never done it as myself. But a lot of people will, a lot of people will see it and be like, you were doing yourself. I'm like, no, but I'm glad that you know that meant something to you.
Well, yeah. And how many times do you people expect you to be a certain way or expect you to be this person, and you play along to it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how many times you go home, you just kind of want to be yourself, but you don't have the people that you can really be that with. So I love that song. I think it calls out, I don't know, just people.
But I'd also like to add that I think the female characters in the show have what I find personally often lacking in female roles in musical theater, that there's an incredible amount of self-awareness. So when she is sort of breaking down her own experience of her life, or Rita, I get to do that in One Day primarily, and also in If I Had My Time Again in a lot of ways. It feels less about how people are, well, in your case, it's how people are experiencing you, but how you get to react to that and process that information. And for me, in One Day, it feels very much like I get to comment on my experience of men, or of relationships, rather, not even just men, but of relationships as my character, as opposed to how they feel about me, you know, which I don't think gets to happen that often. So there's what feels very real about it, and what I identify with as far as Rita and Nancy goes, is that we all have this inner life as human beings, and sometimes it feels good to just let that out and share that with people. And it often feels like in musical theater, women get flattened, become very two-dimensional.
Right. A question here.
Yeah, hi. First, I want to say thank you very much for coming. I love the show. It was really great. My question, I guess, is maybe for Andie. London versus New York, did you find there were differences in terms of like what the audience wanted, what the audience expects?
The reaction was actually very similar, which I found interesting. I was told that audiences in London don't stand up at the end, or don't. They're very nice, but they went bananas for it, which I was like, all right, man, international success. I think because it's so, like Danny said, it tells such a human story that everyone can relate to. It's like it singles out every single person in the show, and they see it for how they interpret it, and it's so effective that way. And I think that's what's so important about the show, and how it makes London very similar to here. There was no cross-continental divide about, you know, have they seen the movie or not. It was, and I see a lot of people here who haven't seen the movie, and they come to the stage door and they're just blown away by the story. And you know, I think it works well so far. I don't know about Australia. I don't know about Germany. But who knows? Maybe it'll work there.
Next question.
I'd also like to say thank you so much for coming. I love the show. My question is, my sister's in 9th grade, and her dream is to be on stage professionally. Do you have any advice for someone in that position?
I've said this a few times recently. It's really, I don't know if she's a singer, or if she's interested in musical theater specifically, but when I've met younger people at the stage door, who are into musical theater, I always say, please don't forget your acting. Do not forget your acting. It's like incredibly important. I think it's easy to forget when you get a lot of, this is gonna sound really shady, but I'm gonna say it anyway. A lot of like pop stars who come in to show, like it's really easy to miss out on telling real stories and understanding how to recreate basic human emotions, but in place of riffing and doing all those vocal gymnastics. But acting is so important, and that's something that I would encourage her to keep in mind.
Anybody else?
I'd say embrace what you do, what you think is better than anybody. Because in this industry, I feel like there has to be something that makes you special, because there's so many people who can act and sing and dance, but there has to be something that you do in particular that you bring to the table that nobody else does. And I think in my first few years of living here, I kind of had a crisis of confidence and a crisis of self and tried to be this person I wasn't. And the minute I started embracing my individuality and saw what I did that was different than everybody else, that's when the jobs started coming. Because I think that authenticity in our business is important, and I think it stands out.
Like piggybacking off of that, don't let anyone box you in. If I listened to the people that wanted to box me into a type or the certain types of shows I could have done, I wouldn't be on this stage right now.
Yeah, going with all, I mean, it's a hard business. Everyone knows that. I remember when I was auditioning for colleges and stuff, you go into every room and they always say, if there's anything else you love, anything else you can think of doing, go do that. I'm like, that is so uninspiring. Why would you say that to a group of artists? And why? And it wasn't until I got into the business, I was like, oh, that's why they say it. Because truly, it's very difficult thing to do. And even when my sister was starting, I was like, can you see yourself auditioning, not booking one job, and waitressing for at least 2 years and having nothing out of college? Can you do that and still enjoy that and think, but for the possibility that after 2 years or maybe longer, I could get something? Because people go, yeah, I could do that, but that won't be me because I'm going to book something as soon as I audition. And you really have to go through those scenarios. And if after you think of all that stuff, you still love it and you can't see yourself doing anything else, then you just figure out who you are, you embrace what you do, learning how to act, especially for musical theater, and you just have to, like, go. And, yeah.
Very good.
Do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Danny, are you... Oh, one more question? Yes, sorry.
Hi. I saw the show a few weeks ago. It was really great. One of my favorite sequences was the sequence at the beginning of Act 2 when you're trying to kill yourself a bunch of different ways. If you see it, it's amazing. And so I was just wondering if you could reveal a little bit about how you do it, because you like climb up a ladder and then you appear downstage like 2 seconds later.
Reveal the magic?
Yeah, I can't reveal the magic.
No.
But it is a great number that took a long time to figure out. And it's funny because it's like one of the harder songs I do in the show, but I'm constantly crawling and jumping out of bed, and I'm appearing on one stage and then appearing on another side of the stage because it's a day that happens really quickly, and it happens every time I kill myself, and then I wake up in bed again, alive to my sadness. It's just beautiful. And Paul Keeve, who is another person we should talk about, he is our magician for this show. Illusionists. He figured out a lot of stagecraft and stage distraction, and it's fun. And you would think that a suicide number is not funny. It actually is pretty damn funny. And the song is called Hope. So is that an oxymoron? I believe. And that's Tim Minchin's brain at work. And then the way they staged it, Matthew Warchus, and how big it is and horrible it is. And then you have to go, that's what's really great about it, is going through that is really funny and horrible. And then coming out of that, realizing that that's not the answer. On to the next day. What do I do? I'm glad you like that number.
And that was one of the first numbers, too. I think, like, we learned it. And Andie was always like, just wait, like this got such a reaction in London. And we're like, okay. And then once we started performing, it was so cool to see the audience kind of freak out and just kind of cheer for it. So it's a fun number.
Cool, thank you. Danny, what's next for you? What are you writing?
Lots of things. I'm trying to do things that, I live here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. There's so many talented people here. I'm working to write things that I can do with people in my own community without needing to go to New York or Los Angeles, which I enjoy when it happens, but I thought I'd spend a couple of years just trying to do things closer to home.
That's why we invented Google Hangouts, so we could bring you in to these types of events. Yeah. So for the rest of you here, thank you. For the rest of you here, what is the one thing, just real quickly, we're short on time, what is the one thing that you all hope audiences take with them when they leave after every show?
A really good time and a head full of thoughts. That's my favorite thing. People going home thinking about it. In not only were they entertained, but they were asked to examine their own life.
Yeah. I mean,
I was gonna say, I mean, that if you look around in this year's season, we're one of the only comedies, if not the only comedy of the season. So, and I used to get upset when I would see people after the show and they'd be like, "It's so fun," and I'd be like, "No, I want you to say it's like the best thing you've ever seen in your whole life." But you know what? It is fun. Like if you leave there and you are happy and you are feeling good, I mean, that's theater. That's why you go to the theater. So if you're having a fun time and you leave us feeling better than when you came in, like mission accomplished.
Yeah, good theater should affect you in some way, whether you go away and it's leaving you pondering life stuff, or you go away and you think, I just laughed for 2.5 hours, or that just made me cry because it made me contemplate my life and where I've gone, and am I living each day to the fullest? If it affects you in some way and you're not sitting there bored out of your mind, which I guarantee you will not be at this show, then it's done its job.
And we do diversity right on Broadway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very proud of that. We aren't all token characters. We are not token characters. We are people. And I always tell people, come see what we're doing.
Yeah, it's and just to piggyback on that, I agree with what all of us have said so far. But I do think that our show, something that really makes our show special, is not only gender diversity, age diversity, race diversity, size diversity. We really have created, this cast is filled with some of the most talented and hilarious actors I've ever worked with, and every single one of my castmates I feel like could carry an entire show on their own, but everyone gets this moment to be a part of a group, and together we make something really special. So I hope you will come and see it and enjoy it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Danny, thank you for joining us. All of you, thank you. The August Wilson Theater, 245 West 52nd Street is where it's playing. Go visit them online, groundhogdaymusical.com, Twitter and Instagram at groundhogdaybway. And then, if you don't mind, can you close us out with one more number?
Oh, do we have another
This
song?
was not prepared for that at all.
Oh my God.
Did I give that away?
Do we have the track? I don't know.
I just happened to bring
Did
it.
we sound check this?
Did we do this? Yeah, talking about diversity, and then the 6'2" white guy gets up here and starts to, close out the show.
We know what this show is about, Andy.
I think that's actually, it's really interesting to do that part of it, have that happen. There's people I wish would come see the show and just get a little clue into a moment like this, which is this last song is called "Seeing You," and Phil has had his full journey. He's gone through being a jerk and being, really horrible to people because he doesn't want to be in this town, then being stuck in this town with all these people, and how terrible is that, and then taking advantage of that by, being with someone like Nancy and for night after night, and then realizing that's not the answer, there's got to be something new, and then going to that dark place and just wanting to end it all, and he can't end it. Then he actually has Rita to give him a clue into saying, well, actually, maybe you're the lucky one. You get to live something new every day. It's everybody else that's stuck. And that's sparks something in his brain. Then he becomes altruistic and helps people in the town. And through all this that he has accumulated through this show, he realized that everybody has become a part of his life and made him a better person, and he's able to see that every day in some nuance in everybody, and it's beautiful. And this last song is called "Seeing You" by Tim Minchin. I don't know how he came up with these lyrics, but it's right on the money, and I'd like to sing that now. Drove out of town, took a right onto a northbound highway. Was it really only yesterday? If I had known what now I know, maybe I would have taken a moment.
maybe looked over my shoulder, maybe shed a tear. Now I'm here. A storm blew in, overwhelmed me sometime late this morning. Think I ignored the warnings. I've spent a lifetime seeing signs, reading lines, trying to forecast the future. Always staying a day ahead. Well, that was the idea, but I'm here. I thought I'd seen it all, was sure by now I knew this place. I swear that I knew every hair, each line upon your face. I thought the only way to better days was through tomorrow. But I know now that I know, yes, I know now that I know nothing. But I'm here, and I'm fine, and I'm seeing you for the first time. I'm all right, and I'm seeing you for the first time. Seen it all, was sure by now I knew this place. I swear that I knew every hair, each line upon your face. I thought the only way to better days was through tomorrow. But I know now that I know, yes, I know now that I know that I'm here, and I'm fine, and I'm seeing you for the first time. I'm alright, and I'm seeing you for the first time. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks. Yay.
One more big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.